everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. If this is your first time on my channel, welcome. Thank you for joining. If you're here for Avon content today, let me just be straight up with you. This video is not going to be Avon related. So if you're here only for that, you may want to click on some of my other videos and my other, trainings, because that's primarily what I do here on this channel. However, today I am doing a little bit something different, and it is kind of in regard to what is going on with my health. I am doing this video because I want to, one, video diary the whole process, as well as be able to possibly help other people that are going through this condition. So again, thank you for joining, and let's get started. So I've been struggling with stomach issues pretty much my whole life, to give you a little bit of background. Mostly started, I would say, I was born colicky. We'll just say that I was born colicky, but I always had some stomach troubles. And back when I was in my teen years, they just said you have IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome. And irritable bowel syndrome, for those that aren't familiar, means you could go from being constipated to diarrhea or have both. And for me, it always correlated to anxiety issues that would cause my stomach to just go in all kinds of problems. So I dealt with that for many years. When stressful situations came up, like before my wedding, I ended up really sick, ended up dropping to 103 pounds. Already kind of a small person, but back 26 years ago, I lost a ton of weight. From a small frame already, to lose 10 pounds is a lot on a small frame. So before my wedding, I was really sick and ended up with an ulcer. And at that time, they put me on medication. They said, you have irritable bowel. And, that was that. Fast forward, marriage, children, moving along in life, finding this wonderful Avon career, which I'm so blessed because I have had a lot of health issues, and it's allowed me to be home. But, fast forward, anxiety was still kind of there for me and still a problem. But I went up and down with lots of different stomach issues. So about 12 years ago, to kind of try to speed up a little bit on all these conditions, about 10 to 12 years ago, I decided that I was sick and tired of the IBS problems. I was sick and tired of not being able to travel and, all these anxiety conditions, kind of triggering all that I was going to change up my diet and see if that could change some of the symptoms. And what I did, the first thing I did was cut out dairy. I cut out red meat and I cut out pork. And initially those were really hard, especially the dairy part. I love my ice cream. I love that type of thing. And back 10, 12 years ago, there was definitely not the options that there is now for replacements for dairy and things like that. So we've come a long way for those of you that have done that. So I cut those things out and watched the fat content, and my IBS symptoms, lo and behold, got so much better. I would have an occasional bout, but nothing like the everyday illness. So I felt like, wow, this has really changed my life. Baby steps, I'm doing so much better. I'm still dealing with some of the anxiety, but I will get better and better. And so I did. Now, stressful situations came up again, and it was with everybody's life. If you're dealing with stomach issues, you know that sometimes your trigger for the stomach issue is going to be something stressful in your life, whether it's work-related, family-related, a death, something traumatic, can bring up anybody. Even if you didn't have IBS before, that if you're going through something like that, a lot of times your stomach and your health is just a mess. Well, I had dealt with fibromyalgia over the years that we couldn't figure out what was going on with those, and lots of other, between the anxiety and fibromyalgia and headaches and all kinds of other things, and still some gut issues, just not where they were. We didn't really know what was going on. And in 2017, end of 2017, some life events and things were happening, and my stomach started giving me some problems towards the late of 2017. And in the beginning of 2018, I noticed that I was having almost like IBS symptoms again. I was getting really sick in the bathroom, to the point where, not to be graphic, but almost to the point of where you're going to faint. You're so sick that you have to lay on the bathroom floor. It's that much pain in the stomach and that much of a problem. And I had several bouts of that almost like way back when. And I thought, what is going on? I'm still off dairy. I'm still not eating red meat or pork. I eat a pretty healthy diet. I don't eat a lot of processed foods. What is going on? So I went to my doctor, like most people would do. And he initially said, we're going to test your gallbladder. And I want to run not a colonoscopy. I had colonoscopy before, but I want to do I want you to have a CT scan and blood work and whatever. So I did all of that. And in the meantime, he put me on a PPI. And if for those of you that don't know what a PPI is, it is Nexium, it is Prilosec, it is omeprazole is the prescription name for it. And it's a acid reducer. It's called a proton pump inhibitor. And it reduces the acids that if you have an ulcer, it helps, things not burn in there or hurt. I came in complaining of a lot of pain in my upper stomach when eating, and he assumed gallbladder or possible ulcer, which is what I thought I had again, and put me on a proton pump inhibitor. Now, here's where the warning is, and here's one of the reasons I wanted to do this video. They left me on the proton pump inhibitor between all the tests and everything for 7 months. You're only supposed to really be on that very short term, because if you stay on it for a long time, it can cause a world of chaos in your gut, which is what led me to what I've got going on now. So they did the gallbladder test. That came back fine. I'm still on the proton pump inhibitor. Let's get your referral here. Let's get you in here. Endoscopy. See the GI, what other test today? The breath test was what diagnosed what I have now, which is SIBO. SIBO is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. You can have SIBO like a long time. So therefore I may have had SIBO for years and years, but controlled it with diet. But what set it off was if you don't have the proper acid in your gut to kill off bad bacteria, because our small intestine is supposed to be it has bacteria in it, but not like your large intestine. So your large intestine has lots of bacteria, and that is where your stool is processed for elimination in the large intestine. In the small intestine, you take in your food, you're supposed to absorb your nutrients in your small intestine, and then it goes through the small intestine, down out into the large intestine, and there's, again, where it's processed. Well, what happens when you have SIBO is either you have what they call, there's a valve that's in between your large intestine and your small intestine. It's called the ileocecal valve. That valve, sometimes due to muscle tone or whatever, can be left open, or if you're on like a proton pump inhibitor, bacteria is over rampant in your large intestine, it can seep up in through the ileocecal valve into your small intestine and cause you tons of pain. Bloating is the huge thing. Bloating, you could be just eating a regular meal and within minutes you start to look 6-7 months pregnant. It causes bloating, pain, gas, indigestion, diarrhea, constipation, overall sickness, because that bacteria is not supposed to be up in your small intestine. So relatively, again, your gut microbiome should all be down in the rest of your digestive system and not up in the small intestine. So people that are diagnosed with SIBO do a breath test, and that is where they go in and you drink a sugary substance and then you blow into this bag. I did a 3-hour breath test, and what they do is they measure when you first come in, where are your bacteria levels, and then they measure that once you've drinking the substance, they can see how that changes over the course of 3 hours. And mine came back positive for SIBO. Now, I will tell you, when I had this test done last summer, and they just said, here, go home. And a lot of you that are facing SIBO are probably in the same boat I was. Here, go home, take the Cipro and take this Flagyl and be on it for 14 days, and then you should be cured. That's pretty much what they said. And meanwhile, I did some research. I'm like, what, am I supposed to eat the same? I'm hurting. Every time I eat, it's like horrible pain. You're not telling me what I can eat and what I can't eat. So thank God for the internet. Thank God for wonderful support groups on Facebook. If some of you are facing that, I highly recommend looking up on Facebook the SIBO boards and getting yourself involved in one of those. I will link that down below if you're suffering with SIBO, because that has been a godsend to me. So had the breath test. They sent me home with the regular prescription drugs. They will either give you Cipro and Flagyl, or you may be on like Flagyl and neomycin, or you may be on the expensive one, which they try not to give you, is rifaximin. Rifaximin is very high cost. A lot of insurance don't cover it, so they try to give you the other ones first. So my experience with that was, lovely. I began, before the breath test, I realized something, was going on, and I started low FODMAP diet, which is, you watch highly fermentable foods versus foods that are not as fermentable, that won't give you as much trouble. So I started doing the FODMAP diet, and some people will do SCD and some of these other diets, but high FODMAP is what I started with, and it helped greatly. Mind you, I'm still on the PPIs at this time. So they did the breath test. I'm trying not to go back. I was on FODMAP ahead of time because I was like, I got to do something for the pain. They're not doing anything for me, so I'm going to eat differently. So I ended up with about 10 foods at the time, 10, 12 foods that I was tolerating, so that I could survive. And then they gave me the breath test, came back positive, sent me home with prescriptions. I stayed on the low FODMAP diet. And in that process of the first 7 days of the Flagyl and the Cipro, I was so sick, weakness, because you end up, when you go on something like that, you get die-off from the bacteria. They're hanging on and they want to stay in there. So when you experience die-off from toxins and buildup and bacteria and bugs or whatever you've got going on, you're going to get die-off symptoms. And first 7 days, I was in the tub half the time with Epsom salts. I was so sick. My husband took one look at me and says, we're going back to the doctor today. He goes, I'm getting you out of this tub. I'm getting you dressed. I mean, I looked like death warmed over. It was horrible. And so I got into the doctor's office, and I'm laying on the table, and I'm on death's door. And she looks at me. I could barely speak to her. And she looks at me. She goes, you're going to the ER. So they sent me to the ER. And you know what they did for me in the ER? They just gave me fluids. And they wanted to do a CT scan anyway earlier in the treatment. I says, you know what? Give me the CT scan. I got to make sure there's not something else in my stomach, like a tumor or something. I don't know, what's going on. So they did the CT scan, all clear. Can't see SIBO in that, and pumped me up with fluids, and I felt better, and we discontinued the antibiotics. Had one more follow-up with my doctor from there, and they basically told me, and for those of you going through this, you need to increase, because I couldn't go to the bathroom. That was part of my problem, is when you have something like this, the MMR, which is your migrating motor complex, that is, for most people, your food goes through a process, and then your intestines do the squeezing motion, right, to tell you, oh, I need to go to the bathroom, and it moves the food through. When you have something that has damaged your gut and damaged your system like this, and you've had gut problems for a long time, sometimes and you've had babies and whatever, the migrating motor complex sometimes is slower, or it stops working. And it's supposed to be pushing that food through. And like I said, with my gut issues prior, I always had problems. I went from one direction to the next. And before the SIBO, I was more on the C direction, where I could not go. And that is not good if you have SIBO, because it means you cannot eliminate the bacteria. Therefore, you're full of toxins. So my MMR is broken, and you're supposed to be moving things through. So they gave me fluids. They sent me home. No more antibiotics. And what does she say to me on the follow-up? You need to increase your fiber. I looked at her, I says, do you realize I got a gut issue? And that if I put fiber in there, it's going to cause me so much pain. This was my face. I was like, lady, this was like the nurse practitioner for the doctor. And I was like, look, this is what I'm doing. Oh, you need to take Citracel. I was like, I can't take those things, lady. That is going to kill me. It's going to hurt me. Do you not understand the pain, the bloating that I already have? You're telling me to put fiber in? Are you crazy? So from that moment on, I walked out of there and I went to Chinese medicine. And for those of you watching, if you've been fed up with your regular GI doctors and they're not helping you and you're not getting results, I highly recommend you find a naturopath or Chinese medicine doctor. So I started with a Chinese medicine doctor, and the first thing she said to me is, we're getting you off that PPI. She goes, that is depleting the acid that cannot kill off the bad bacteria. And that is why when you eat, because you have no acid in there to break your food down, that is why when you eat, your food is not getting broken down, and you're trying to pass food that's it's not being broken down properly like it's supposed to. So she put me on this, which is betadine HCl with gentian root, or you could also be on like betadine plus. And basically this is an acid. So don't do this just on your own, like talk to a naturopath. But I take one of these still to this day during my high protein meals. And let me tell you, this was the first godsend because when I would eat, I would take it and immediately the pain stopped and I was able to get off that PPI. If you are on a PPI, Nexium, Prilosec, omeprazole, please, and you have a condition like this, please talk to your doctor about getting off of it because it is so bad for you. It will cause all kinds of problems. Look it up. There are lawsuits against Nexium and those type of drugs. So this saved me in my eating. And the same day that Chinese medicine doctor in October put me on this with my meals, and it totally changed my meals. Then I was to take 3 magnesium citramates, and this is Thorn, every evening. I started out with like 1. I was scared, and then I moved up to 3. And I take 3 a night of this, and that was helping me keep my bowels moving. If I were to show you the arsenal, so I did that, and I did some Chinese acupuncture, and for a while I felt like that was helping some. But the battle of still having, excuse me, let me get a sip. The battle of still bloating and still having to eliminate foods and getting down to literally about 10 foods is all I could tolerate. And that would be salmon, chicken, and all organic, by the way. So wild caught or organic. Salmon, chicken. I initially was eating eggs, but had to cut out eggs because they feed bacteria. So salmon, chicken, I'm able to have green beans, zucchini. I can have blueberries, strawberries. All, again, has to be all organic. Papaya, kiwi. Is that it? Hold on. Papaya, kiwi, green beans, I think I said. It's literally like 10 foods, people. That's it. 10 foods and tea and water. Almond milk. I could do almond milk recently, only recently. So about 10 foods is what I'm tolerating. And I've been like this since October with the foods. Okay. And I have a arsenal, if you're going through this, of supplements like you wouldn't believe, like baskets and baskets of things that we have tried. So the Chinese doctor was helping me. And then I found a naturopath finally in the area after looking at potentially Skyping with people far away. There's Dr. Allison Seinbecker. There's Dr. Jason Klopp. There's lots of people that if you're looking up for Sibo for expertise, you're looking in the thousands of dollars because they're not covered by insurance. So it becomes really expensive. But when it's your health and you're sick, you got to do what you got to do. And I have good days and I have bad days. Like last night, I was dying in pain all around my rib cage, was inflamed, and I had to sleep with a heating pad. And it's just like tender to touch. The bloating gets out of control sometimes. Basically, I am living with managed symptoms, but it's not, of course, where you want to be. And you want to be healed. The bacteria is still there. So it's a chronic illness. So how do you eradicate it? Let's get to that part of the video. So I'm still in process. Here's the sad thing. There are people that go years and years and years doing the antibiotics rounds. They do the round, then they feel better, then they go back on it, then they go a different route, and then they try another one, and then they try natural antibiotics like neem, berberine, oregano oil. I started celery juicing. If you're familiar with Medical Medium, you can look it up. And people are like, but that's high oxalates. It's not high oxalates. If you're allergic to it, that's one thing. Always go with what you can tolerate. But I started to celery juice because it helps produce natural hydrochloric acid in your gut. And there's a lot of amazing benefits to celery juicing. I started out very small, like 2 ounces. I did that for several days and worked my way up. And I started that like early December, and I'm up to 16 ounces a day. Now, initially, I feel like that was really helping me with bowel movements initially, as well as continuing my mag citramate. It was like a game changer. I'd have a week where I'd be like, oh my God, I'm healed. And then the next week, nope, right back to the same thing. So it reminds you and puts you right back in your place that no, you still got this. So you can't just kill it with celery juice. But I can tell you that it is a good thing to try and it is good for your health. So if you want to look into it, it may help you. So where I'm at now is in the last week, it seemed that the celery juice and the mag citramate for using the bathroom was not working as well for me. And after trying glutamine and having a bad reaction to that and a whole bunch of other things, and I've done CBD oil for pain and that kind of helps, I turned to Pure Vegan Mag 7. This is by Pure Vegan brand. I got it off Amazon. It's gluten-free. It's non-GMO. It's vegan. And it's magnesium oxide. And this is basically not really supposed to be a long-term use. This is a cleanse. You can do 3 to 5 a night. I've been doing 3 a night. Tonight I'm going to bump up to 4 to 5 because I don't feel like I'm getting enough. And that's because, again, that MMR, the migrating motor complex, is broken on me. It does not do the normal squeezing motion that I should be getting because SIBO and everything that goes with it has damaged my system. It's just it's very broken. And anybody that's suffering with this knows the struggle. The struggle is real. I could be eating my protein, whatever, and if I wasn't taking this or something like this, I wouldn't go for weeks. Like, it's bad. So Mag 7, I highly recommend this. I was worried about cramps and bloating. This is working, but you only do this. I'm doing this for 7 to 10 days. And then the next part of the protocol, for those of you, I'm tired of messing around and been speaking with, I will never ever do this without doctor's approval. So if you are thinking about doing this, please see a naturopath. Get a naturopath, get into one of these groups where you can find one that can at least guide you. I didn't start this sooner because I couldn't find one. So now, even though this process started like last year, I'm finally getting to the Physicians Elemental. This is the dextrose-free elemental diet powder. This is going to be my next step. We are fully planning on starting this. It's a 3-week liquid nutrition diet. You eat nothing but this powdered drink. You do about, I think I have to do about 10 servings of this. It goes by your weight so you don't lose weight, because if you're already thin to begin with, this sickness has dropped me from 124 to 103. So I've gotten very thin, not on purpose, but SIBO steals all of your nutrients because you're supposed to get those in your small intestine, and it eats all of it, takes it all from you. So for me, I constantly feel hungry, and even though I'm eating, it's taking all my nutrients, taking all my calories, taking everything. What this does is it gives your gut a rest from trying to process any foods and allows you to get full nutrition while you kill off and starve out the bacteria. So you do this for it can be up to 4 weeks, but I'm going to do my best to do at least the full 21 days. So I need lots of prayer. That's what the support groups on Facebook, they have an elemental diet support group that I will definitely be in. And I'm in it, but I will definitely be writing in there. Right now I'm in a SIBO group. Again, it has all your essential nutrients, vitamins, everything that you need to thrive and stay alive, and give you calories just to maintain, but keep your stomach from having to do any kind of work whatsoever, so that you can kill that bacteria. And then once the diet is over, you begin a reintroduction, like a newborn baby's belly. You reintroduce slowly your foods. And so the game plan for me, which is why I wanted to come out to y'all, is I'm going to video diary every day of the elemental diet. I will come on and do a very quick, it's day 1, that type of thing. So if you're going to be following me and you're thinking about elemental, there's not a lot of videos out there. I mean, I found some of some people that have done it. Rebecca Combs, if you are looking, she's on YouTube. She did a diary, but everybody's experience is different. And I'm praying that mine is a positive one. Most people that do this can eradicate it and be cured. And that is my hope. I think there's an 80-something% success rate, whereas the antibiotics, people end up with round after round after round, and I just did not tolerate the antibiotics at all. This is going to be a rough thing to do. Again, you don't eat for the whole time. You will experience die-off. To me, it's like if somebody's given a diagnosis and they say you have to do a treatment, maybe if it's cancer, they have to go through chemo and they have to endure that. I am tired of playing the game of let's try this supplement, let's do this. I mean, I have an arsenal, I swear, that is like oregano caps and this, that, the other, of all these things that is, and some of them that I've never opened, parasite cleanse, this, that, the other, because I was afraid of how to proceed. But when I look back at people that have eradicated this, so many of them say, I wish I had done the elemental diet sooner because I would have saved so much time. I earned with my company an all expenses paid trip to Maui in April, and I had to forfeit it because of this illness, because I know that I can't travel. I have to eat like every 2 hours, and it's only my safe foods, and they're all organic, and they all have to be prepared here so they're safe, gluten-free, dairy-free, all that, whatever. And it's not like in an airport. It's not like I can carry a Luna bar. I used to be able to carry a Luna bar or something. I can't have that right now. People don't realize the magnitude. I saw somebody on the board the other day that literally has like 4 foods. So there's always going to be somebody that's worse off, but it varies in what some people can have. And so that one person's 4 foods blew my mind because it was Nutella, toast, and 2 other things that there's no way I could touch. No way. Mine is all like pure, simple foods, like hardly any seasonings or anything. Like I've got, peppermint tea, ginger tea, the chicken, the salmon, and the same spices. No pepper, no garlic, no onion. Can't have any of those things. So it's very blah. It's very the same, and it can be very depressing. So finding somebody that is going through what you're going through and understanding it, or if you know somebody that's having these issues, maybe they need a breath test, maybe they have Sibo, and that's been their reasoning for all their bloating and their pain and their suffering, and then get into one of these really great support groups. But I figure I have a platform here on YouTube. Most people that come here, you may be an Avon rep watching this, and I don't expect Avon reps to watch this. I expect people, unless they've got a stomach condition or they're interested in knowing what is going on with me, because I'm used to producing more beauty videos and more training videos, and I have not been out there doing that because honestly, it has been, a good day here, a good day there, and then a week of just so sick. And so today I was like, you know what? I'm doing pretty good today. Let me come out and tell everybody what is going on, where I have been, and what the treatment plan is. So March 18th, over this weekend, I'm going to be finishing up Mag 7 Cleanse. And then over the weekend, I am going to start taking small amounts of the elemental diet to get it into my system slowly and see how I tolerate it. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I tolerate it okay, so that on the 18th, after a whole week of slowly increasing it, we can go full on with this, which means I don't have to worry about what I'm going to eat the next day, or, it's going to be a struggle though, because I'm sure people say they're pretty full on this, but I'm sure there's going to be a struggle of smelling food and missing food. And, but you know what, when you don't have a lot of foods that you can eat to begin with, how much can I miss? I got 10 foods that's in my life right now. So, that's basically where I'm at. For all those who want to update, thank you for sticking by. I know this is a longer video. I will link some of the Facebook groups below so that you guys that are suffering with this can join those groups. And then you could find me in the group and say, hey, Lisa, I found you on YouTube, and, thanks for whatever. If you want to ask me questions about Sibo, feel free to ask me below. I'll do the best to answer. Of course, I'm not a doctor, but somebody that's going through it. And it has been a complete education. There's been so many days and nights that I am just scouring for information and reading other people's stories and what are they doing. And that's the thing with this illness, is what works for one person doesn't necessarily always work for another. So that's where my fingers are crossed that the elemental diet is a positive for me and actually gets me where I need to be. I earned another trip with Avon in June, all expenses, just yesterday. It popped on my screen, and I was excited, and at the same point, I'm scared because I've missed so many things since this crapola, let's just say it, it's crap, started. It's an awful illness. I've missed family trips. I've missed so many things. I feel trapped in my house. I can't go out to eat anymore. I haven't been out to a restaurant since probably last summer. It really takes a lot away from you. It can be very depressing at times, and having the proper support in place, family and a Facebook group that you can go vent, and you can do searches to find out, is anybody taking this? Is anybody depleted in vitamin D3? You will be so shocked when you can read what other people are like, oh my God, they're just like me. They're going through exactly what I'm going through. And, so please, if you need support, ask me down below, or I'll put the links down below. Thanks for sticking by. I hope this helped you. If you found this video and were looking for Sibo information, I hope this has helped you not feel alone and understand that this is a process. It sucks. You have to be patient with it. You didn't get into this situation overnight. Some people get into this because of food poisoning. Some people get into this because they've had stomach issues their whole life. Some people have parasites. There's all different reasons, you know, and we can get into that in other videos. But thanks for sticking by. I appreciate y'all. And I hope if you're watching this that you get healed soon. And please keep me in your prayers, because I want nothing more than, of course, to be back to my 100% self, to be able to travel again, to be able to do family things, to be able to eat, for God's sake, to be able to eat what I wouldn't do for a piece of cake. All right, guys, have a great day. Thanks. Bye.